the world of clicks and views. We got the tricks, ain't got time to lose. Christina and Joe dropping knowledge non-stop for all you realtors. Climbing to the top. Grab your camera, let's make the tape. Content gold, no time to waste. From open house to renovation glory, YouTube secrets unfold your story. Build those leads with every post. Christina and Joe, the ultimate hosts. Market trends and virtual tours. Turn those watchers into door knocking scores. Lights, camera, action, go live. Tips and tricks to help you thrive. Thumbnail magic, title spice. A clickbait charm, but a touch of nice. SEO game on point and tight. Comments buzz.
I love our intro.
Interesting. I have a question though. Who's doing the virtual tours that it mentioned?
Joe does virtual tours.
Oh,
you wanted to know who that person was that was doing it?
no. Who actually does them for lead conversion?
Lots of people do.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of people do. I mean, Brad McCallum built a whole business off that.
True. But I consider those like movies when you watch his.
Well, yeah, his are like a step above like 99.9% of most real estate agents. But let's get into the introduction. You don't know me. I'm Christina Smallhorn. This is Jeremy Blanton, and we're going to be talking about getting your first leads. And what a great conversation starter. How many people actually get leads from home tours? I know several channels on YouTube that do home tours, and I mean, I've seen some success from those channels. I personally used to do those type of tours for my last brokerage. This was years ago. I had my clunky DSLR camera, and I would go around. And then when they came out with the gimbals for the phones, I was like, I'm just doing these with my phone. It worked. It really worked for. Back in the day, it worked really great for lead conversion on Facebook ads. This was back in 2016 and 17. And I did those tours because they brought me, first of all, they brought me exposure. So I do like a goofy tour first, like a goofy skit type tour first. And that was for shareability and just exposure for myself. Then I would do like a traditional MLS type of tour.
Yep.
And then I would have a tour that I would use for I would, chopped up the same actual video, but I would use that for ads. And I had a guy from England that used to do my voiceovers for all of my tours. And since I'm in the South and you hear this boisterous like almost like a Terminator type voice in an English accent talking about Southern homes, it's like our homes are very, uniquely Louisiana. It just made for more, like, even people would say, who did you get? Like, even real estate agents would call me, who'd you get to do the voiceover?
Yeah.
And they worked for me. I don't know how much they actually worked for me on YouTube, but at the time I put them on YouTube. I put them so that I could put them on a blog, but I would really say that for me, home tours worked the best back then with Facebook ads.
Yeah, for sure. I tried to do some of them, and I used to put them on Facebook and get so excited because the video would have like 1,000 views, and that'd be because, oh, Ashley, what's up?
Sir Ashley, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, by the way.
Yeah, I met him in Raleigh last year when I went up there for a bar camp.
He's a smart dude. I swear he's probably one of the smartest real estate agents in the business.
Yeah, we did some sessions on YouTube together. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I recently ran into somebody at a conference, by the way, speaking of that was talking about that they've had a YouTube channel now for 10 years and it really doesn't convert to leads. And that, it's kind of like people are selling a pipe dream. And I'm like, okay, then why do you keep doing it? Well, I mean, honestly, if you really think it's terrible, why do you keep putting the content out for the last 10 years?
Right.
And then I said, it sounds like you got a little bit of sour grapes because other people in your market figured it out. And you've been doing this for 10 years and you still haven't, you haven't gotten the leads like they have. And then he's like, well, I just think they're kind of blowing their numbers up, buying ads. And no,
No,
no.
I
And
surely don't.
and the problem is the content that converts. That's why I put that on the thumbnail. So what I was explaining to him, because he was doing this almost like a Zoom style type of video where he's basically breaking down the numbers and everything. He's like, I'm not doing anything different than they are. And I'm like, here is theirs, right? And they had like this studio and they had good audio, really good audio. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. It had a little bit of B-roll, but it would show the numbers on the screen. It was 10 times more engaging than hearing somebody read numbers like it was. I kept telling him, I'm like, I don't mean to be mean, but what you're doing is boring. What they're doing, it adds some excitement to what they're actually listening to. And he was like, numbers are numbers. I mean, you can't make them more exciting. I said, but they did. The visuals they put on the screen, they took the time with the videos. Just putting out videos, you got to have a strategy and you have to have a purpose. And if you don't have a strategy or a purpose, you're doing it for nothing. And then you're complaining 10 years later that, you think that it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. If you just listen, I don't think I'm a very entertaining or exciting person when I talk, but when I'm doing a video, I go to a different person, number one. I
Mhm.
become much more animated, much more energetic, exciting. People meet me like, "Oh, you're so funny." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Or like when I'm out and about around town and someone sees me and, "Hey, you're that YouTube guy, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Wow, we watched all your videos." I'm like, "Listen, I'm nobody special. I'm just a dad with 3 kids, and a wife who says I'm annoying at times." I said, "But there's nothing special." "Oh, no, no, we watched all your stuff and you were so amazing," and they come in the office and they're like, "Oh, we feel like we've known you forever." Mine aren't, and there's nothing real special, but I try to put out stuff at the highest quality, number 1 I can. I have it shot with good quality equipment. I have it edited, done well. Everything, audio, everything's there. If you have crappy audio, a crappy image, and it's just you waxing on for 5 minutes about the market has changed 3% with a monotone voice the whole way through, nobody's gonna watch it at all. They may stay for 10 seconds and then they're out of there.
I want to show somebody that will if they were to say to me, well, how come this guy can do it? Right. I'm going to show you somebody. And you probably have even seen this guy, right? His name is Clear Value Tax. I remember his channel when it first came out, right? It kept showing up in my For You page, right? And he has the same shtick. Look, it's the same tie, and it's like he always has a camera slightly coming down on him, like he kind of almost looks like he's like looking up into the camera. And he always has his beige background. These are his thumbnails every single time. And then the thumbnails that he actually has edited don't do as well as this deal right here. The difference between this guy when he does these videos is that he is so packed with information and it's very clearly explained with that information. His audio is spot on and they know what they're getting from him every single time. And if you notice, he's always wearing a shirt and tie. So that's his own branding. And because of the value that he provides in those videos, it isn't boring. It doesn't look like a Zoom call. It doesn't look like he's being held hostage. He's genuinely giving you his personal experience and value of whatever it is he's talking about, his own experience with the Federal Reserve. And he's got it nailed down, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think I have seen him. I'll have to check him out sometime. But
Mhm.
what I'm guessing is that he is overwhelming you with amount of data that right away he is an expert. And because he's an expert, you want to know what he has to say when you're
Mhm.
figuring out. It's kind of like when you look at the National Association of Realtors. Who's our chief economist?
Realtors.
Realtors. Who's our chief economist? Lawrence Yun. And when you
You?
look at any of his videos, anything that he's always in, or any presentations he ever does, he is going to be in a shirt and tie or in his suit, and he's going to just jam pack it full of data and statistics that when he's done, you're going to go, well, dang, I feel like I just got done with third grade again.
Yeah. This guy's delivery is really good. And he does it and that's the whole thing is like there's lessons to be learned by all of this. There isn't one way to make it good, but there are some strategies that you can implement to get better leads. And the first one I want to talk about is that if you're going to make a video, and I'm just going to say you already have the thumbnail nailed down, like that this is a clickable thumbnail. The title is like fire, it's going to work. And then the minute they start the video, it falls flat. You've lost all abilities to get a lead. And even myself, over the past year, I have to work on my hooks. That is that first, it used to be, they'd say 30 seconds of a video. It's that first 5 to 10 seconds. You have to say something that keeps them watching.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to.
Oh, and the one thing that I see too many times with agents that are doing video and this stuff is they feel like they have to do the sales pitch.
Ooh, yeah, that's gross.
In everything they do. It's like 5 reasons why you should buy a home today. No, I don't need that. I'm not coming to you because you're a expert on buying homes. I'm coming to you because you're an expert on your area and I'm thinking of moving there. My content that I've created for the last probably 2.5 years now is all about the good, the bad, and the ugly of living here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And everything's just about that. Why? People love to know what pisses you off. And so if you create content about these are the things that frustrate me about living here. These are the things I wish I knew before coming here. These are the things that I love about living here in Myrtle Beach. People will sit and watch that stuff. And they're not just watching a little bit, they're watching for hours and hours over and over and over. And for me, I think one of the big things that really kind of changed my whole process in getting leads to come in was when I finally shifted my strategy. It used to be back in the day that videos have to be 3 minutes or less. And if it's any longer than that, you're going to lose their attention and they're gone and you're not going to do it. No, now everything is probably 10 to 15 minutes at least in length. Why? People sit and watch it and they're staying for longer. And because it's longer content, I feel, and you may know this a little better than me, but I feel like YouTube kind of pushes it a little bit farther out than that 2.5 minute long video.
Okay, so this has to do with the avatar itself, right? So it depends on the age of who it is you're speaking to. Some age groups do not like, 20-minute videos. Like, we'll just be honest.
Yeah.
But other age groups are, and it's becoming more and more common and across the board. People that have decided to turn off the television, they no longer have anything to do with cable. They do have their online subscriptions to Netflix and all this other stuff. They like going to YouTube first because they trust us more than the regular media. So, when you hear the Lawrence Yuns and all these other people talking, the consumer hears, well, that's somebody on the inside and they just want to pressure me to buy a house. That's what they hear. They always think there's a ulterior motive to the numbers that they actually hear. So then when they hear somebody like you and me talking in a 20-minute episode, breaking down what that actually means, because usually they're talking on a national level, but you're talking on a local level, what that actually means for them in that specific area, they're going to trust what you have to say 10 times more than somebody that's been sitting there mic'd up on MSNBC with a pancake makeup on, right?
Yeah.
They believe you more. So that trust factor that used to be in Hollywood's hands is slipping away. And this is why people are turning to YouTube. And the longer the content, depending on the avatar, the more information you can pack in that 20-minute video, the more they're going to stay. They like that kind of stuff. I still, to this day, one of my favorite videos is about land. And I packed as much as I possibly could in that video. I mean, it was so I could have made probably 4 videos out of how much information I put in that one video about land. But then it ended up being my most popular video, still the most audience retention with over 1 million views, still the most highest audience retention I've ever had. And the number one comment was, wow, I didn't even know any of this. And then, of course, everybody under the sun copied it, which is fine. I don't care,
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to point this out. If you have this happen to you and somebody like you have a really successful video and someone in your market actually copies your video, you have to like take a deep breath and say, who cares? Because honestly, even if because I saw this years ago with Brad McCallum, somebody stole his video idea and they even copied his script word for word. And the thing is when the other person was doing it, it fell flat. It wasn't his own words. So because he was repeating what somebody else said, he would have had to actually either memorize those lines or follow a cue card to get it that perfectly, right? But in the grand scheme of things, that other guy's videos fell flat. It didn't look like Brad's. It didn't sound like Brad's. It wasn't Brad's. And it's the same
Brad
with
is a one and
information.
only. Brad's a one and only, and people who
But
try
information is information. Like it doesn't matter, like there's only 360 schools in your area, right? There's only like who cares? Who cares?
Yep.
Some people just don't like me because they don't like my hair color. Some people don't like me because of the way I dress. And they'll pick the other person just because of the opposite. So don't sweat it. Who cares? Who
No.
cares? I don't care.
No. I mean, for me, listen, in my market here, I have seen in the last few years a boatload of agents jumping on the YouTube bandwagon and trying to pick off. I'm one of the OGs that has been there for a while doing it. And, I was in one of the first. So with that, I've kind of got the seniority, I guess is kind of the best way you'd put it in this thing. But it's amazing to see all of these new people coming into the business to do it. And they're still like, how the heck are you still doing it, Jeremy? How are you? And I'm like, listen, number one, it's consistency. Number two, it's longevity. I've been doing it for some of my oldest videos on YouTube are probably 13 years old now. But the ones that really actually matter are probably in the last 4 years. But like while we're doing this stream right now, I'm in my text message. Right, keep looking over to the right. I'm negotiating a deal for a YouTube buyer who hasn't even been to the area, but knows they want the house, want to get it. And yep, sure enough, we just got that ding right there. It says, we're going to accept that offer, and they're buying a house.
And you know how like earlier you're saying, well, can you really do lead conversion from YouTube home tours? That brings me back to the whole reason I ended up on YouTube in the first place was I was posting videos about Ascension Parish. Like this is the area that I live in. This was eons ago. I think it was 2016. And I was posting those videos and somebody actually called me because they were like, anybody that knows that much about that tiny town, I need to work with them. Right. And that was the same kind of thing you're doing.
Yep.
It was a out-of-town buyer. I'm pretty sure they were from Utah. They knew nothing of the area. He had to be transferred over. And then I would do virtual tours on, do you remember flip cameras?
Oh, I have one here somewhere.
Yeah, so I had my flip camera. It was either a flip or it was the original DJI GoPros, right? I think it was one of those, but it had that fisheye lens. It looked awful, and I would go through these houses for them and upload it. I also did that for my aunt. So I think there's a place for any type of content to create a business around. I mean, I think anything is possible, especially on YouTube. I mean, there's people that their whole channel is just solely about, making bread. Some of them are just about collecting Legos. I mean, like you can literally make a business and get leads from anything, but you have to have a strategy of good calls to action. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of agents do because they take it from a script, what their call to action is, and they sound stupid. I mean, honestly, they sound stupid. Some of the things that they say for their calls to action from these scripts that other companies are telling them, this is what you need to say because this is what converts. Bull crap. So what do you want to say about that?
Well, what I was just going to say, you were mentioning about collecting Lego. One of the
Uh-huh.
things that I just started in about the last 5 weeks is collecting sports cards.
Mhm.
And I just went on YouTube and just started looking at, what's the most valuable this card that, and started seeing a couple of these channels showing up over and over again.
Mhm.
And I am addicted. Here's a whole box filled with sports cards that I've purchased
How
that I've got
funny.
to inventory here. And so, like, I literally was just before I jumped on here watching a 31-minute video. I'm at 29 minutes and 12 seconds on how to sort, organize, and display all your sports memorabilia. That this guy did. Why did I watch it? Because I've watched a bunch of his other stuff on sports card collecting and memorabilia and all that stuff. But you're so right. Isn't there like somebody who does like a whole channel that has millions of views on like brushing your teeth or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's crazy stuff out there.
Right. I want to go back to the calls to action. So,
Sure.
one of the things that I don't see this mistake as much or as often is people that feel like they have to put their phone number through their whole entire video at the bottom of the screen. And or they start off the video like, "Hi, I'm Christina Smallhorn with XIYZ Realty. Anything you need to know about real estate, make sure you call that number below and we can get together and connect." And then you get into the video. People don't do that as much as they used to. That used to be very common. But what I do see is like maybe, 1/3 into the video, this is when they do their sales pitch. And if you sound salesy or someone gave you that script to say to every single client, you don't think that that client has heard that script before, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Like you really need to just have a conversation with the camera. Pretend that camera is a client and
Yep.
talk to them like a freaking human being. And the thing is if you provide enough value in your videos, you won't need any sexy, tricky kind of salesy calls to action. They're just going to want to work with you. Now, your calls to action that I like something I would use for my avatar is going to be completely different than what Jeremy's going to use for his calls to action in his videos. You have to be this is like the most understood part of making content is understanding who the avatar is that's watching. And people will look at their YouTube analytics and they think that's the end all be all to understand who your avatar is. And they're like, "Oh, I already got it figured out. Look at my analytics." There's so much more to that. You really need to dig in deep. You need to find out what their fears are. You need to find out what they're watching other than YouTube. You really have to figure this person out. And there is no AI software out there that's going to do that for you because culturally things change on a dime. So you need to get into their heads so that when you do those calls to action, they feel like you are coming from a place of empathy of where they're at in this real estate journey.
Yep. Well, and just a couple things that I would add. Number one, obviously, before you really get too far down the journey, make sure to talk to your broker, just to make
Mhm.
sure that you're doing stuff so you don't get in trouble. For example, here in South Carolina, and my broker has made it clear that they want me to say that I'm who I am and that I'm with the brokerage for keeping us safe. So when I
Mhm.
start my videos now, I almost start every single one with "What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blant with Remax Southern Shores, and today we're going to
Mhm.
discuss," and we go into it. I said it. People aren't even really paying attention to it. They're already wanting to know what are we going to discuss. And so that's the way
So
I
they
do
say
it.
you have to start your videos like that?
They don't say I have to start it. I could put it at the end. It's
I
just
would.
that's been my script
Yeah.
since the beginning. And it's kind of like the guy in the shirt and tie.
Right.
They
You've done
know
it.
it's gonna come,
Mhm.
and it's part of it. And then usually what I put towards the end, now I used to be okay. Well, if you need anything, did my information down. Now to say, hey, if you guys are looking to move to the Myrtle Beach area, go over to jeremyblanton.com. The link's down below in the description. Book a 30-minute call and we can discuss your move to the area soon. And I try to keep it real simple and easy in those videos so that people aren't spending the time. But you're right. If you spend that first minute and a half, "Hi, I'm Jeremy Blanton with Remax Southern Shores. I'm a realtor in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and have been selling here for the last 20 years. If you're
Mhm.
thinking of buying or selling in the area, please give me a call. My phone number is down below."
Mhm.
By the time I get through that second sentence, people are out the door onto the next person.
Right. Right. And you're doing it so fast that it's like you almost can like forgive it, right? You're just
Right.
like, okay, done.
Yeah.
Um, so I
It's
had
work
like
vomit, I call it.
years ago, my old brokerage said that I had to brand my videos with their stuff. And so what I would do is back then, of course, I introduced myself. I did that whole kind of intro because that's what everybody was doing at the time. But I to get forego having to say the brokerage and all that other stuff, I just put a lower third with their logo on it at the bottom. Well, then somebody said, "Oh, well, you have to put the logo on the video, the whole entire video, like up in the corner of their brokerage." I'm like, "Who says that? Where is that written that I have to do that? If I will do that if it's written somewhere, but I'm not doing that. That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not
Yep.
branding for you. I'm branding for me. You
Yeah.
know, we are independent operators, you know, but if there is don't ever like go against the grain when there's some kind of written rule with your MLS, your brokerage, or anything else. If they require you to have it written on your banner or something, do it because it's not worth getting in trouble over.
No.
And if that's a sticking point for you, which it ended up being for me, just go to another brokerage. There's a million of them, you know.
Well, see, like
There's a million of them.
one of the things that's stupid, going back to talking about virtual tours a moment, I here in South Carolina, and there's in the process of changing these rules right now, but
Mhm.
it's still almost impossible. Unless it is my listing or my brokerage's listing, I really cannot advertise it and do virtual tours or video tours of another listing or another house.
Why?
So it's prehistoric, archaic, stupid rules that are in place. They now have said we can do them, but you have to go through getting written authorization and
Yeah,
all
we do
this
have to do
stuff
that too.
from the seller, from the
Mhm.
brokerage, from the listing. Like all these
Mhm.
different people have to sign off to do it. It's like it's too much work to go through just to get a virtual tour of a house.
It's
I'll just do
not.
the neighborhood instead in my area. And there's enough of those which here in Myrtle Beach, because of us being an area that's growing so rapidly and people coming from outside the country, they prefer to see what the neighborhood looks like more than a house that's available for the next 30 to 60 days. I like to play more the long evergreen content route
Right.
versus the short term on it because I'm not going to do the fancy, sexy,
But you could there's a
video
way to
tricks and all.
incorporate both, right? You could incorporate both. You could do like say you had there's a builder in the area, they're not listing with the brokerage or whatever, and you could do a tour of that neighborhood of those new constructed houses, but also tour the whole entire area for like anybody that's moving to that area, and you can give them some helpful advice as far as like the closest schools and all that other stuff that people are really interested in. You could combine those two things.
Yep.
So that way it's an informational touring type channel. There's a guy, I don't know if you've seen, um, I would love to know what his ROI is on his speed tours. Have you seen it?
I
Have you
think
seen
I
this?
have.
Yeah. So it's this, he's young, right? And so he
He like
has
runs through the house, the running realtor or something, I think he's
the
called.
well, I think I don't know that there must be a few of them, but this kid runs through houses and he makes stupid jokes the whole time. And whenever he goes into the bathroom, he always sits on the toilet backwards and stuff. Just silly. But I don't see and I could be 1000% wrong about this, but I don't see uh as entertaining as that is, I can't see myself saying, you know what, that's the real estate agent I want to work with. Right.
Yeah.
But as those words fall out of my mouth, I start thinking about Enough Said. You remember him? Enough Said? He
I
was
think I
on
do.
yeah, Enough Said on Facebook and stuff. He made a hell of a business being quite cheesy and corny,
Yeah.
like
Well,
I would have never in a million years thought that that would have brought in business, but it does. And it
yeah.
just goes to show you that there is something for everyone. And what you would do for your business is completely different than what somebody else would do for another business. But
For
one
sure.
thing rings true. Everybody hates that feeling of being sold. Instead of being a human being to another human being, if you feel like, oh man, they just sold me something, they just wanted to sell me a house. When you
Yep.
use calls to action in your videos that sound salesy and you're trying to sell them something, they will run for the hills. You
Yep.
have to be human.
Well, it's like one of the other things that I recently started. Give me 1 second. Let me grab a prop.
Oh.
So one of the things that I have recently started, which, the other thing I have to take into consideration is I don't have a lot of time because I'm busy working with buyers. About
Right.
75 to 80% of my business the last 4 years has come directly from YouTube leads.
Mhm.
And I have had a very good business the last 4 years. We'll just leave it
Mhm.
at that. So one of the things with limited time that I'm probably going to have actually my assistant do real soon is literally take this, have a
Mhm.
suction cup it to the front of her car, and have her just drive around neighborhoods. They're 20,
Brilliant idea.
20 to 25-minute long videos because they're new, especially here in Myrtle Beach. Google Maps is not updated as often.
Correct.
So these new developments come in and people are like, well, what the heck does it look like? What's it like? This thing, we can throw it in 4K mode, extra wide, and go. If I'm doing them, what I'll do is in addition is I'll take my DJI mic, stick it on me, stick this on the car, hit record on both of them at the same time, record it. And as I'm driving through, okay, so now we're turning on to Burke Street and we're going to go down here to the community center. You can see the community center there as we're driving around has a lot of great options. There's a lazy river, there's a playground. Oh, check out the playground. And I'm just literally driving around in the car for 20 to 30 minutes, come back, throw it into my video editor in 2 seconds, sync the audio and the video together, make a nice thumbnail from an image in the video, screenshot something, it's just that,
Mhm.
and throw some text on it and put it live on a tours channel. People
Um,
love them.
like, this is just a little, like, if you were thinking about this and you're a newer agent and you're like, oh, I don't have all this equipment and everything, those little DJI cameras, they're not that expensive. And if you go on Facebook Marketplace, somebody's always upgrading, right? So they have their old one and they're going to upgrade to a new one. So they're going to go ahead and get rid of the old one.
Yep.
Go ahead and buy their old one. And,
300 bucks, I would
yeah,
say,
yeah, $300, and you
and
can
then
get all
30
those
bucks for
little
the suction cup.
and you can get all those little plastic attachments and pieces on the cheap now. You can go
Yep.
on Amazon and get some off brand and they work just fine. But I was just gonna say uh to make yourself even look even cooler, even more professional, you face that GoPro camera out the window for the neighborhood. Then you have your cell phone camera that faces you. So occasionally you can look over and talk to the camera. I'm not saying I'm not a proponent of driving while you're filming and talking to the camera. But if you're going at a slow mode speed and you're going through the neighborhood, that's totally fine. But it will make your footage look so much more professional if you have those two looks, coming in, and you
Yep.
can do it on the cheap. The if anything, if Jeremy will agree with me on this. If he doesn't, I'm going to fight him. If anything, your phone is a good enough camera to start off with. I would want you to spend the most money at the beginning on just one thing, and that is your audio. Yep, your audio.
This right here is one of the best things that I have ever purchased.
I have them too. I have them
I think
too.
like 250 bucks now. You get two microphones. It's wireless. You can connect it to any type of camera that you can think of. And no, I will
Even
agree
your
with,
cell phone.
yes.
Even your cell phones.
Oh yeah. So the cell phone, it has the little adapters. They're
Mhm.
right here. You just pull them out, stick it on, and go. Oh, my camera. There it is. Stick
I'm
it on
so
and go.
terrified I'm going to lose those things though. They're so
Luckily
small.
I keep them in there. But here's what I will say regarding any camera that you're picking. As Casey Neistat would say, and I'm not a big Casey Neistat fan, but one of the things I 100% agree with him is people would ask him all the time, Casey, what's the best camera to use? Because he had all this high end, big time dollar equipment. And Casey would still to this day probably say the same thing is the best camera to use is the one that you know how to and the one
Mhm.
that you have with you. So he will say it all the time. He will shoot some stuff with a GoPro. He'll shoot
Mhm.
some of it with, $1,000 cameras like I'm using for the stream. He'll shoot some of it with, his cell phone. Whatever is he has available that's accessible. Because like in certain situations, you don't want to bring that big, massive, bulky camera into the place. It would look a little awkward, but pulling your cell phone out, you just fit in with all the other hundreds of people there on their phones to shooting the video. So yeah, I would 100% agree. So going back a sec to the neighborhood tours, one of the other things that I did in the past as well is I just went, actually, I didn't even shoot it. my videographer went and shot it, and I literally just sat here, watched the footage, had this camera on with this microphone to do the audio, and I did it that way as well. It's
Mhm.
just another set of time to do it in there. But hey, if you're new to this and you're not converting leads yet, you've got nothing but time available to do this.
Yeah.
And as you get going with it, you're going to have to figure out ways to make it not so crazy. Last week while I was on the holiday break, I went to Georgia to visit my family, and I had 4 different people reach out just last week, one of which I just put under contract. One is coming tomorrow to buy, and the other 2 are coming the end of the month.
Mhm.
All from YouTube. They all have watched my videos. And here's the reality with this too, Christina. I have been so busy lately and been a slacker with traveling, on vacation, doing all that stuff. I've not really created content since probably mid-October, maybe the beginning of
Same.
November. Beginning of November. I just
Same.
haven't done anything new, but it
Mhm.
hasn't slowed down the leads. Now, Monday night, and here's the other thing, and you talk about this a lot. If you don't have time to sit and create the published video, use StreamYard, use some sort of live streaming service, and just hit the live button and talk. I did that
Mhm.
on Monday, and Tuesday I had leads sitting in my box from that Monday night live.
And that is content that converts, that is
Yep.
very underutilized on YouTube, which is live streaming. I know, like, for several of my students, including myself, to get the most leads, the content that converts the most for me is the live streams. But with that being said, if I didn't have the content that supported the channel, there's no way they would pop into the live stream in the first place. They
Right.
saw the content, they popped into the live stream to ask their questions or whatever, or just be a part of it. They got to know me better, and then they found a way to reach out to me even more. Because, like, during that live stream, I don't have a problem being a little bit more salesy than I would in a video. I don't want to interrupt it in the video where it sounds like a commercial. But during a live stream, I'm like, I'll even say to people, look, if you're having problems with your real estate agent and you want to connect with somebody else, I'm connected with thousands across the country. Here, Eddie, go ahead and put my website on the screen, and I'll put it on the screen. Then I'll say, just go over there, click on one of the pink buttons, fill out all that information there, and I'll get a hold of you this week, and we can talk about your real estate needs.
Yep.
That sounds salesy, but it was because they asked for it, and it was part of a conversation, the bigger conversation in that live stream.
Right.
And several of my students say, thank God you forced me to do live streams, because I do get a lot more
Oh
leads
yeah.
from the live streams. But I mean, you can't just make, I mean, I'm sure you could. I have not yet seen a successful channel yet in the real estate sector that only does live streaming. Several of them have podcasts, but I haven't seen anybody that has a huge online live presence that has converted a bunch of leads.
No, you need the produced content to show
Correct.
your expertise. And
Correct.
once people have that you've built that following. I mean, I don't have near the following of people I'm at right now. 6,600. See my little counter back there? It's right there.
Uh-huh.
But what I love about this is that when I do those lives, I basically think of 1 or 2 topics that I know might take me 10 to 15 minutes to discuss. I
Mhm.
try to keep them for an hour to 90 minutes. 60 to 90 minutes is the time frame I go.
Absolutely.
But what I do is I'll go on there, hey guys, so like this one I did on Monday, it's cold right now, right? And the Northeast is
Mhm.
getting slammed with snow. So it's like, okay, so as you're coming in tonight, just tell me what's the weather where you're at and how much snow do you have on the ground right now or expected this week? And people came in and just started to do that. And it kind of started the conversation. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, so tonight I want to discuss with you this topic. And let's discuss what is going to happen this year in the 2025 year with real estate and what
Mhm.
to expect moving forward. I had a few articles planned out that I tabs opened that I could just flip from one tab to the next,
Yep.
show them to people, and along the way, so what questions do you guys have about this? And then as they're doing that, and I would stop it at some point and say, hey, if you guys have a question about moving to the area, drop it right now. Just go over to the comments section, leave a comment there, and we'll do our best to answer them. I promise we'll try to get to all of them tonight. And just like you said, a few
Mhm.
will come along that you're just like, that's really kind of more of a personal question,
Mhm.
or where you can do a little bit more of that sales pitch where it's say, hey, you know what? this is a question that probably would take a little bit longer than we want to spend on it here. Plus, it's kind of specific to you. So why don't you go over to jeremyblanton.com, click that 30-minute book a call button, and we'll discuss it whenever
Mhm.
you need then at your time that works best for you. Okay, great. And they will do it left and right.
I know they usually do it like right then and there.
Yep.
Like soon as you do that, and then other people in the chat see that was that easy, and then you get a few more because you ended up we're talking to somebody else, which is cool.
Yep.
Moving to Charleston, South Carolina says I do a lot of lives on TikTok, and it works fairly well. I have so few followers on YouTube Live. Would streaming still work? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't give a poop what size channel you have. I honestly started doing live streams. I mean, all the way back in 2017, I was doing live streams. I wasn't doing the right kind of live streams, but I was always live streaming. And any way you can build a community on YouTube, live streaming is probably the best way you can build that community. Because believe it or not, which is blows my mind, there are people that will find you when you are a nothing, nobody YouTuber, right? And they will follow you for years and years and years. There are people on my channel that were there when I had only 100 subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, like that to me is just mind blowing.
Well,
And
the other thing you can do as well
Mhm.
with it that works for me really well being an agent, selling full time, is my clients that I get out of it, I try to tell them, hey, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with what's going on. But also, if you ever have questions or stuff, you can always jump in the live stream. Or people that, or have worked with me in the past, like, wow, this is awesome. The kind of people feel excited to be part of the show, and like they feel like this connection, this deep connection to you from just answering questions. And it's fun for me. One of the things that's kind of funny is I bring my wife on once in a while, and I've
Mhm.
done it. It's kind of like I know you've brought Eddie on before. When you do that, they ask over and over, when's she coming back? When's your wife coming back? When's she coming back? It's like, I'll work on getting that soon for you, real soon, and they like it just because it's a different perspective than what I would share.
Mhm.
And, so I usually end up bringing a female on with me because I bring the male side to the things. So I'll bring either my lender or attorney or inspector, one of those people in to be part of the conversation.
You'd be surprised though. This was one of those things that like over the Christmas holiday, I was really kind of analyzing some of my analytics of just on live streams. I was shocked on how many live streams actually did much better and converted more when it was just me. When I have
Mm,
a guest on, they pop off a lot quicker. Like
really?
people are there to see me and hear what I have to say, which is surprising. And I always have to have a lender on there sometimes because I'm not a lender. I can't answer those lending questions. I will not. I'm not licensed to do that. But it was shocking to me the amount of retention. The audience retention was much higher when it was just me. The audience participation and comment section was much higher when it was just me. And I think the reason why is because I was paying attention to the guest and not the people in the chat. So I'm
Mm,
listening and talking to the guest, but I'm not paying attention to the 200 people that are sitting there having a conversation and wanting to have their voices heard. So it becomes more of a conversation with the people that are in that live chat, which I think that's the reason why it converts better, is because
yeah.
I'm talking to them and not talking to a guest where I'm ignoring the people in the crowd. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, and I would also say to moving to Charleston, I don't know who that is, but moving to Charleston, South Carolina, it's an hour and a half from me.
Mhm.
Um, you don't need a huge following in your live stream to have it be successful. I
Nope.
might have sometimes I'm averaging right now about 10 to 30 people on the live show.
Yeah. I do
And
these
that's
every week. I mean, on average, probably on the high end, 20, on the like mostly it's always about between 5 and 6 people, but
yep,
they still work. They still convert. The whole
yep,
reason I do this channel is to help real estate agents. And then of course, I mean, this isn't a secret. It's a lead funnel to get them into my course. Right. So, a good trick that you should know is if you're going to plan on doing this and you're terrified there's going to be nobody in the stream. I tell people this for years. So with the videos that you do have, right? People do ask questions in that live stream, right? I mean, in those
yep.
in your videos. So
Or
as
the
new
comments.
yeah, or comments. So new new comments that come in, say, you know what, that was a really good comment. We should talk about that on my live stream on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I will go ahead and address it that day. So you invite them to the live stream. They come to your channel. They're recently to your channel. They've already made a comment to your video. So invite them to have that discussion on your live stream. That's how I built my live streams up really quickly. I just kept inviting them to the live streams that I have always at 3:30 on Sunday afternoon. And it only took like three or four live streams in. And then I had a constant flow of people that were coming in. Once I had changed my format, I used to do a real estate trivia show, which was really stupid.
So
It was fun, but it didn't convert.
So let me ask you this question. I think I know the
Mhm.
answer, but would it be beneficial then if, kind of taking that same concept and idea and putting it into your published videos, maybe at the end? Hey, I know you guys have questions at times and you might put them in the comments down below.
Of course.
But if you have stuff, why not join me on Sundays? I'm going to be doing live streams at 3 o'clock. You can come in and do it. Do you think that would be valuable to maybe throw that into a published once in a while?
The only reason I don't do that is when there's a system to YouTube and how it recommends other videos. So I want to not disrupt that system, right? And not only that, the conversation that you're having in that specific video could be totally different than the topic that you're going to be talking about on your live stream. So like a lot of my videos are about affordable housing. I talk about news about affordable housing, but I don't really talk about the actual structure of the house, right? So I wouldn't want to waver off of that too much in a live stream.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
you could do it. You could do it, but I would rather recommend them another video very similar to the video that they just watched.
True.
So,
True.
and I'm not
thought.
even that specific. I'm always like, if you want to learn more about blah, blah, blah,
Right.
go ahead and click these videos right here. Because at any time I can shuffle those around and trade out the end cards and stuff.
Right.
Shannon says, do people like hiring a realtor, husband and wife teams? I think there's a recipe for everything. Some do and some don't. Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that, husband and wife teams.
Yeah, well, she has another part to that where she down below, you'll see there. My husband and I will start a real estate training next week. He's retired military, so our niche will be VA.
Perfect.
Eddie, you
That
find a niche or niche,
It's
stick
niche.
to it and become the expert on it, and people will hire you for it. Here in my area, I live in a city that's basically about 65 miles long of area that I cover. But
Mhm.
I focused into one small little part in the center of this where it's higher price homes, it's nicer subdivisions, and it's 5 to 10 minutes from where I live and from where I work. And probably 70% of the business I did last year was all in that little section of the beach because people reach out to me because I've become the expert on it. I was the expert on a subdivision I never sold a whole home in. And I get people calling me all the time. Now in that subdivision, I've probably sold 10, 12 homes now
Mhm.
in just one neighborhood. Why? Because I was one of the first to create a video talking about the neighborhood and what was going to happen with it and where it was going to go and how it was going to be awesome and why it's such a nice spot. The area that, like I said, find one little specific niche, however you say it, I don't know.
It's niche. There's no T in it.
Become the expert on it, and you can have a successful business. I mean, you got to think in most MLSs, thousands and thousands of homes are sold every year. Do you need to sell all 18,000 homes that sell in your city every year? No. If you can sell 20 to 40, that's a pretty good year for most agents. If you're a big team, maybe 50 to 100, but still, you don't need to be all 18,000.
It's like a form of farming, like, when you do your
Yep.
postcards and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to touch on this VA thing. So there is so much content out there that you guys can make together. And it can be super interesting and entertaining on top of it especially since your husband is retired military. He can start sharing his own military stories within the real estate content. And that creates a real relatability between you and the audience. People are going to feel more connected to you guys because you're living this life, right? And there's so much opportunity there for you to create a channel that will surpass so many other agents if you learn, like really start studying how to do storytelling. It could be 10 times more interesting than doing those little tiny, pros and cons videos. Those could get as boring as an enema. Like find something that people can relate to. And what do people relate to more than anything is the stories that we share with one another. And once you share those stories, they're like, I went through the same thing. And then they want to share their story. You're going to see your comment sections blow up, and they will reach out to you even more. Your calls to action really are your stories that you share. And you have a huge opportunity there.
Yeah,
Huge.
I cannot agree with you more than ever on the storytelling part. One of
Mhm.
the biggest parts of success to my business is because I share stories. I share stories of frustrations that I had moving to the area. I share stories about frustrations my clients have had moving to the area. And I share stories of all the crazy things that have happened over the years working with my clients. So in
Mhm.
the beginning with that channel, I would have your husband sharing about his frustrations, and things that happened to him when doing a VA purchase of a property. You
And
know,
all the things he didn't know and wish he did know.
right?
And
Yeah,
and all the things he discovered afterwards that he didn't know beforehand, and he could have saved thousands of dollars.
right. And
Nobody
do
told
it
him about this form that he needed to fill out,
right,
or
and
this grant that was available.
and one, like you said, do it in story form. So, guys, I
Mhm.
wanted to share about what happened to me when I went to purchase my first VA home. One of the
Mhm.
things that I had no clue about is that I had to fill out this extra form on da, 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 da. And it
Mhm.
was really frustrating. And I had to get this person to sign and take this here, and I needed a copy of this. I didn't know those things. So if you're getting ready to buy a home as a VA for the first time, these are the things you're going to want to get together. Don't do the so if you're a VA buyer, you have the benefits that are out there. Here are 3 benefits that are for you. People don't need that. If they want that,
Mhm.
they're going to read an article on Google. They're going to go to Google, type it in, and AI is going to give them that answer in 3 seconds. They're not going to watch a 20-minute video, but they will sit and they will watch for 10 to 15 minutes. You share a story about a frustration you had when buying a home or selling a VA home, or one of the pieces that came along as a VA buyer or seller in it.
I can
Guaranteed.
picture the whole thing in my head right now. Her and her husband sitting on a couch together. The lights are just on those two, and then the first words out of their mouth when we got our first VA loan, we got screwed. And there's so many things I can't wait to share with you, all the things that we learned afterwards. And we would never want anybody to go through the experience that we went through. Boom, the need in the story. That's a hook.
Yep.
That's a hook. First of all, it's captivated on YouTube. Secondly of all, you're sharing your own personal story, and that's it. Magic.
Yeah.
That's your call to action right there.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, my videos for a whole, Christina, and I don't know about you, but most of mine nowadays, I've got the topic, I've got the idea that I'm going to talk with, and I have my 3 to 5 points that I'm trying to make in it.
Mhm,
That might take up 5 minutes of the actual video. The rest
mhm,
of the time is a story or two about something that happened with the client related to that. So, like if I'm shooting a video on and talking about new construction in our area, I'm going to say, well, now let me tell you a story about my clients, Dean and Dawn, who recently bought a house here in Myrtle Beach. And when they were buying, it was back during the days of COVID and supply chain. Remember that supply chain issue? And put a little B roll of something stupid with supply chain showing. Do that. And then I'm going to share how the builder took a 2-car garage door, cut it in half, and put it on as a temporary fix to say, we're closing on the house today. So you need to be careful which buyers you're going to pick. But I will take that story and share it for the next 4 to 5 minutes easily. And people will sit and watch the whole thing. And then they're going to reach out to me when they're ready to buy that new construction home. Why are they doing that? Because I'm now the new construction home expert in my area that they want to work with when they're buying. So they don't end up being like my client who didn't listen to me and bought with a different buyer, a builder than I told them, and ended
mhm.
up having all kinds of issues at the end.
Yep. I concur, Jeremy. Good stuff. Yeah, and I think that's the other frustration that some people don't understand when they're trying to turn their content into conversions for leads is they do not understand their niche. So they may not understand their avatar, but they don't understand their niche either. And there was a train of thought, a school of thought that your niche was the location that you live in, right? And that is not a niche. That's just a geographical spot on a map, right? And if you're only making videos, and I'm not saying just touring videos or whatever, but if you're only making videos that are like vlogs about yourself living in an area, and then you happen to sprinkle in that you're a real estate agent, I don't think that those necessarily convert, because it isn't really helpful to the audience watching, right? You might be entertaining, but
For
it's
sure.
not necessarily it's not necessarily something that, like people would reach out to. So like find the purpose for them. You're trying to solve their problems and help them not make the same mistakes that others have made in the other transactions. Sharing those stories helps them understand, instead of giving them the fact, well, you have to fill out this form and then it'll be fine. But you share a story of like, they could have saved $10,000 if they just filled out this form right here. Like, take a good look at it, take a screenshot so you remember it, because you're going to want that whenever you go to visit your lender, right? That kind of thing sticks
Yeah.
in their brain a lot more than just saying, yeah, and this is the form that you need, and then you just keep talking.
Right.
So, like really, really dive deep into your avatar and your niche, and like be careful on the information that you get from people that you may perceive as successful on YouTube, but are blowing a lot of smoke in your blowing a lot of smoke. There's a lot of people out there that and Jeremy knows this. Jeremy and I go way back.
That's what I
And
say. Show me the money.
show me the money. And there have been people that over the years have come and gone, told me I was wrong about all sorts of stuff. And I don't know where those people are today, and they like, you really have to understand what you're talking about. There's no hacks in this YouTube thing. It's very simple. YouTube wants to sell more ads. In order for them to sell more ads, they have to watch the more of your videos. If your videos aren't getting people to watch, then they're not going to sell more ads. So they're not going to recommend it more. There's no magic. Like, people are like, oh, the algorithm's being mean to me. No, you're making crappy content that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah.
That's the
100%.
problem. That's the
Yep.
problem. And you're not getting leads because your content's crappy. You got to
You're
fix
not
the
relevant.
content. You're not relevant. You're not connecting with an audience. You're not keeping them on your videos. YouTube is not going to recommend it to the next batch of people.
Yep.
So
Well, I
you have
would.
to learn that content that converts for your avatar.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking while you were saying that, it reminded me back to the day when we first started chatting, and I was, starting to get into. Listen, this is back when I was traveling the country, speaking on video, how to create content, how to do this, and it wasn't really yet converting for me into business and things. And
Mhm.
I could sit and spend the next hour with you just going through all of the different crap that people have tried to teach us as experts over the years of things, and oh, don't ever run a YouTube ad. Make sure your video is under 2.5 minutes. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do all this stuff that never converted. And then, I remember you telling me one day, like, Jeremy, do you want to follow the theories of the experts, or do you want to do what works? And I was like,
Mhm.
well, I'd like to get some business. And I started doing it. And shortly thereafter, had a video pop off for 200,000 views. And it's like, okay, maybe
Christina knows what she's talking about.
maybe there's something to this. And just shifting that whole mindset from
Yeah.
all the garbage junk in that had it received over the last, 10 years. I've been in this business for 24 years. I've gone through a lot of stuff over the years, but a lot of garbage that I had to weed through to finally figure it out. And it's funny because even today, my wife doesn't understand what works and what doesn't. And every day, oh, I think you should talk about this on your
My
channel.
husband does the same thing.
Honey, why don't you do a video on this? You should talk about this in your next. And
So frustrating.
I'm like, baby, I love you.
No.
No, that's not gonna work. It's just like, listen, my assistant did the same thing this last week. She's like, I was talking with my husband and we had some ideas of maybe some new content you could put on your channel for the future. I'm like, yeah, no. And listen, I gave her Daryl's book and I said, read this book. If you're going to work with me, this is part of what you need to understand.
I'm in that book.
I know you are. Yes, you are. And I said,
I'm in
listen,
that book.
and I told her, I said, listen, the woman in there, and he talks about the realtor, That's my friend Christina. She's
Mhm.
the one who's got me where I'm at today. She knows what she's talking about. We're going to follow things and do it the right way.
Mhm.
And there's just, you know what you're doing. You know how to do it. You know how to make it successful. And you have figured out how to make it something that can be repeatable over and over.
Over and over and over again.
And
And
any type of business thought idea somebody wants to have, with it. And if it wouldn't be that I already, and I listen, I've even talked to you before about maybe I should do the training. Maybe I should go through your course because it
mhm.
could even take my business more. But then I'm like, I don't have time to do it. Number one, nor do I
It's
have time,
dedication,
nor do I have time for more. Listen, I signed
Mhm.
up for the 30-day free challenge.
and you didn't do it.
I haven't looked at a single thing. If I pull my email up right now, probably 29 of the 30 days are still saved in there as marked unread that I haven't even opened because it's just been crazy busy, number one.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe I should send my assistant through. Maybe then she'll understand me better.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad idea. We have had a couple people do this. I want to share this. This is my call to action, everybody. And this is the God honest truth. Joe and I, let's the date today. I think you have 7 days left. Where we're shutting down, where it's $3,000. It's $2,997, right? It's going up to $5,000. So if you are deciding to do this, or you're on the fence, or you don't have time now, right? Go ahead and buy it now, because you don't want to pay $2,000 more, $3,000 more when you decide to do it later on, right? We have a few people that have done that. One person bought it when I first put out the course, but they always have access for the rest of your life. You will always have access to the 8-week course. We also offer the 4 weeks of advanced training after the 8 weeks is done. This is a live session, so Joe and I will be answering your calls or your questions live, and our groups are very, very small. We don't even do any advertising. This is our advertising. This is it, because we want to, what I say is, we're trying to create the special forces of the best real estate content creators on YouTube. So if you're not serious and you're not going to take the time and the dedication to be a good YouTuber on YouTube, don't take the course. But if you really want to build up your business, get a ton of leads, or you have the very unique problem that many of our students have, where I didn't realize that what you said was true and that I was going to get so many leads, I didn't know how to handle it. We've had several students that have gone through that and have that very unique problem. And so we now even have a system for them to be able to funnel those leads through their website, have the good CRMs, have the good follow-up. So that way you can start converting even more of those leads, especially when they start flooding in at one time. It's overwhelming. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to do. So we show you how to do that as well. So here it is, realestatevideogeeks.com. Go ahead and fill out the form here. We have 3 different options. If you wanted to do it by yourself, you could do that for $1,500. Just know that, again, if you decide to do that in the future, it will be $3,000. So, and then you don't get online training from us on that, learn at your own pace. And then, of course, we have a little mini course, but that's for like, this is what your YouTube banner is. This is how you put a profile picture in. This is how you fill out the about section. I don't think anybody's ever bought that, honestly. No, I take that back. 2 people did.
Well,
So,
let me give you a quick sales pitch here.
okay.
My guess, for those of you that are watching, even
Mhm.
at the 5,000 part, if you take the course, you sign up for it and put it into practice and do the things that Joe and Christina teach you, I would be shocked if you didn't have at least a 10x return on the investment after the first 6 months going forward. I easily think that you could turn that $5,000 into a $500,000 business in the next year.
I got the best compliment from somebody from the 30-day challenge. And that was, felt like their channel was in a slump. And they did everything on the 30-day challenge. They were the number 1 person, and their views have 10x'd since then.
Yep.
And those were the little breadcrumb hints just to help boost up your channel.
Yeah.
And there is a method to all this madness. And if you like buckle down and really decide to jump into the YouTube game, and you really want to dedicate your time to that, you can be successful. There's no doubt about it. but everybody's in their phases and stages. And if you're not ready right now, that's fine. And
Yep.
there's other social media sites as well. I just happen to know, and it's what's worked for me because I was on Facebook and I was a Facebook lover forever. And then
Yep.
when every real estate agent under the sun was like, "Oh, everything's on Facebook," that's when I was doing everything on YouTube because I already knew Facebook was done. I knew that then.
Yep.
So
Well, I can tell you just from the basic tips that you and I have shared in discussions over the years that I'm very close to making 10x where you're going to see your investment for that course. So if I had Christina in my back pocket as my coach along the way, that if I ever had a question that I could ask and have the expert of Joe, who, by the way, has a brother who's really kind of a big deal in the YouTube world.
love
I mean,
love
he's kind of a big deal, but
it.
having all of that knowledge and people there in my back pocket to help me, I don't see how you couldn't turn it into a 10x of the $5,000.
Oh,
Easily.
it does pay for
Easily.
itself. Everybody that does it, it actually does what we say to do. That there's not been a person that hasn't been successful.
Yep.
So
It's the key to everything is as long as you do it.
you have to do it. You have to do it. And like some people are resistant because they've learned a certain way. So they're very resistant to what we tell
Yep.
them. So anyways, Jeremy, I want to say thank you so much for spending the day with me. I know that Joey's normally here. Joe is my business partner in crime. And he's, I would say, I keep saying he's on vacation. He is not on vacation. He is actually training. He's at a YouTube training. And hopefully he'll come back here and share with us all the cool stuff on the live stream next week. I wasn't able to make it to that particular training. I was at the one in Utah. So, oh, Jeremy, thank you so much. Have you seen our outro?
I think I have. It was pretty scary.
Oh, our outro is great. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And you guys watch this really cool outro. I made it myself. I feel cool about that.
Oh, it's not the AI one? Okay, yeah.
It's
that makes
not
sense.
AI.
Yeah, it's the end of the stream. Christina and Joe taught you all the tricks, make your leads grow. From thumbnails to tags, you gotta be bold. YouTube's the key, turn your listings to gold. Edit those vids, make them snappy, make them fly. Engage with your audience, connect, don't be shy. Realtor to the core, but tech on your side. Hit that algorithm like a digital tide. This is the final click, now you're in the know. Use YouTube to flourish, let them listings blow. It's the small details that bring in the dough. From Christina and Joe, here's the way to go. Every upload strategic so your views ain't stopping. Consistency's key, schedule that drop. Content's king, crown it at the top. So you learn the ropes from two of the best. Christina and Joe, put your skills to the test. Turn those leads into clients, make your channel explode. Realtor success on the digital road. This is the final click, now you're in the